A tiny copper coin, forgotten in a dusty jar, dismissed as worthless pocket change, transformed into a millionaire's miracle overnight. And here's the terrifying truth: you might already own one that you just haven't looked close enough, because this isn't just any 1967 penny, this is a ghost from America's minting past, a copper clue hiding in plain sight. And only a handful of people in the world know exactly what to look for, but by the end of this video, you'll be one of them. It all begins in a year of chaos. 1967. Vietnam raged overseas. Civil rights protests rocked the nation, and the U.S. Mint was under siege. Collectors were flooding banks, grabbing proof sets, and hoarding coins by the thousands. It created a crisis: massive coin shortages, dangerous delays, and mounting public pressure. So the U.S. Mint did something shocking. In 1965, 1966, and 1967, no coins bore their typical D for Denver or S for San Francisco. Everything, whether struck in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, was released with no mint mark at all. To the public, every penny looked the same, but here's the catch: they weren't, because in 1967, something slipped through, as something the mint never meant to release. And what happened next stunned even the most experienced collectors. One Lincoln penny, struck that year, had a detail so subtle, so mysterious, that most people never saw it. He wasn't a dealer. He wasn't an expert. He was just a 63-year-old coin hobbyist from Indiana, rummaging through a coffee can full of old change after retiring. He spotted it under low light, a strange doubling on Lincoln's profile. The letters looked off, like they were trembling. He thought it was his eyes, but when he showed it to a local coin club, the room went silent. Then chaos erupted. A respected numismatist took one look and declared it a doubled die obverse, one of the rarest minting errors in American history. But this wasn't just any doubling, it was bold, pronounced, and unlisted. A 1967 Lincoln cent with strong doubling on Liberty, and the date was the only one ever authenticated, and when it hit auction, bidders lost their minds. Collectors flew in from across the country, dealers whispered behind closed doors. One man tried to buy it before the auction even began, offering six figures in cash, but the owner held firm. When the final gavel fell, the penny sold for $1.40 million. And here's the most haunting part: experts believe more of them are still out. They're unfound, unseen, unbelievably valuable, because in 1967, the mint was in chaos. Dies were reused and overworked. Quality control was inconsistent, which means multiple dies could have produced the same rare error, and any one of them could be sitting in a drawer right now, in your home. Because this detail is what separates a 1-cent coin from a $1 million miracle. First, the coin must be from 1967. No mint mark. That's standard, because no U.S. coins had mint marks that year. Next, look closely, and I mean extremely closely, at Liberty on the left side of the obverse. If you see any sign of doubling, where the letters appear stamped twice, like a shadow or a slight shift, don't ignore it. On the rare variety, the 6 and 7 often show the clearest doubling, bold, thick, and unmistakable under magnification. And here's the test that stunned even experienced collectors: tilt the coin slowly under light. If the doubling is real, you'll see the shadow shift in opposite directions, like a mirage breaking in two. It's hypnotic. Now, there are many fake doubled dies floating around. Machine doubling, die fatigue, even intentional alterations, but the true doubled die from 1967 is deep, bold, and unmistakably struck into the metal, not scraped, not faded. It was born at the moment of minting, and that's what gives it value. But the surprises don't stop there. In 2007, another penny from 1967 showed up at a Midwest coin show. It had similar doubling, but only on the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial itself. Once again, dealers were stunned. Some believed it was from a separate die pairing, others thought it might be a counterfeit, but when PCGS got their hands on it, they confirmed it. Another legitimate error: that coin didn't hit $1.4 million, but it was still valued over $130,000. There isn't just one valuable 1967 penny, there could be dozens, maybe hundreds, and every single one is waiting to be found. But what makes this story so emotional, so powerful, is that these coins were almost destroyed. In 1968, millions of old coins were melted down and recycled. The flawed coins were pulled from circulation, banks cleaned out their vaults. Many 1967 doubled dies never stood a chance. They're like time travelers, survivors of a forgotten war. Tiny relics carrying the DNA of a minting mistake and the dreams of every collector who dares to believe in the impossible. And today, collectors are hunting like never before. Some are pouring through eBay listings, others are hitting flea markets, garage sales, or buying bulk wheat pennies just to catch a glimpse. Coin forums are lighting up, Reddit threads are flooded with close-up photos, magnifier apps, and stories of lucky finds. This isn't just a penny. It's a $1.4 million invitation. To change your life with a single discovery, and now, here's how you can find one. Start by collecting every 1967 Lincoln penny you can get your hands on, especially those with clear details and no major wear. Invest in a 10x jeweler's loupe or digital microscope. Search in natural light. Look for bold doubling on Liberty, the date, and possibly the Lincoln Memorial. Don't dismiss coins that look off. Imperfections might be clues, and if you find something suspicious, get it certified by a professional grading service, because only authentication can turn a suspicion into $1 million reality. So tonight, after you empty your pockets, before you toss the change into the jar, it looked just like any other penny, dull copper tone, barely noticed, lying face down on a kitchen counter, but beneath its ordinary appearance was a silent storm of secrets, and that tiny omission has created one of the most shocking stories in American coin history, because what looks like a simple, forgotten penny is now lighting up auctions, stunning collectors, and changing lives forever. But before we reveal exactly why this coin is worth up to $1.50 million, you need to hear the bizarre, almost unbelievable backstory. It starts at the Philadelphia Mint. 1988 was a transitional year, a year of quiet chaos. The US Mint was adjusting equipment, switching designs, modernizing processes, and during that chaotic process, a mistake was born. A mistake that would take decades to uncover, and that mistake is now worth a fortune. You see, most 1988 pennies made in Philadelphia look perfectly normal. They don't have a mint mark, as expected, because the Philly Mint rarely added one in those years. But what no one realized is that a handful of these 1988 no mint mark pennies were struck using a reverse die meant for a different year. A die meant for the 1989 penny was accidentally used to strike some 1988 coins, and if you're thinking that sounds like a small detail, that's exactly what makes it so dangerous, because that tiny design difference, invisible to most, is the $1 million key. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. For nearly a decade, these flawed pennies went unnoticed. They were spent, pocketed, dropped, lost, forgotten, until one day, a sharp-eyed collector in Illinois noticed something strange. He held two 1988 pennies side by side. One looked different. The G and FG, the designer's initials under the Lincoln Memorial, was sharper, bolder, too clean, too modern. It was the design used for the 1989 reverse, somehow appearing on a 1988 coin. The dealer squinted, blinked, then said the words no one expected, "You might want to get this authenticated." That collector sent it to PCGS, and when the results came back, the room went silent. It was real. An extremely rare 1988 penny with the wrong reverse design, caused by a misused die. Collectors were shocked, dealers began scouring their inventories, people started digging through old jars, hoping lightning would strike twice. Only a tiny handful of these coins have ever been found, and every single one is now worth tens of thousands. One pristine example, in near perfect condition, sold for over $35,000. But here's where the story gets wilder. A private collector in Texas claims to have found an uncirculated, ultra-high-grade example of the same coin, stored away in a sealed roll for decades. This coin was recently appraised at over $1.5 million, and major auction houses are preparing to bid for it in secret. $1 million coins don't just sit in museums, sometimes they hide in plain sight. In desk drawers. In dusty coin jars. In the palm of your hand, and this is one of them. But the clock is ticking, because every day, more of these coins disappear forever, damaged, spent, or lost, and the few that remain are only growing more valuable. Here's what to look for, and what most people miss. It must be a 1988 Lincoln penny without a mint mark. Flip it over, and examine the reverse side, the image of the Lincoln Memorial. Look closely beneath the right side of the memorial. You'll see the tiny initials FG, for Frank Gasparo, the coin's designer. And now, focus on the G. On normal 1988 coins, the G appears rounded and soft, from an older, worn die, but on the rare variety, the one struck with the 1989 reverse die, the G is sharper, more angular, with a distinct straight tail. That sharper tail is the key. Collectors call this the 1988 reverse of 1989 variety, or 1988 RDV006. Only certified graders and experts can verify the coin for certain, but if your penny matches that sharper reverse, you may be holding a fortune. But here's what happened to one man who almost threw it away. He was clearing out his late father's belongings, found an old cigar box filled with wheat pennies and memorials. Most were worth face value. He almost tossed them, but something told him, just in case. He pulled out a magnifying glass, and that's when he saw it, a 1988 no mint mark penny with that strange G. He gasped, called a local appraiser, got it authenticated, and when the hammer dropped at auction, his childhood penny jar had turned into a $245,000 miracle. One coin. One moment. A life changed forever. But this tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it, because to the untrained eye, it's invisible. A trick of the light. A nothing penny But to the trained collector, it's a treasure map, and the map leads straight to $1 million prize. There are fewer than 200 known examples in existence, and probably far fewer still in good enough condition to hit 6 or 7 figures. That means the odds are against you, but they're not zero. But those odds were worth $35,000. So don't let your chance slip away. Every coin you pass by could be the one. Every 1988 penny you ignore might be the hidden jackpot. Collectors are out there right now bidding, searching, hoping, because this isn't just another penny, this is a mystery. A mistake. $1 million miracle. So go check your change, open that old coin jar, look closely, very closely. But when one collector picked it up, something caught his eye, a tiny detail so rare, so shocking, it would turn that pocket change into $1 million miracle. Yes, one 1989 penny. No mint mark. No fanfare. But hiding a secret so powerful, coin dealers still whisper about it today. Because this isn't just another old coin. It's a treasure hiding in plain sight. And the story behind it will change how you look at every single cent you touch. So how did a regular-looking 1989 Lincoln Memorial penny become one of the most valuable coins in U.S. history? Let's go back to a mistake the U.S. Mint never wanted you to know about. In 1989, over 7 billion pennies were struck. That's right, billions. Most were made in Philadelphia and Denver. But a handful, just a few, had something mysteriously missing, the mint mark, that tiny D or P below the date. Gone now at first glance, that might seem like a minor glitch, a fluke, but collectors know that kind of minting error can make all the difference. Because a no mint mark penny from 1989 isn't supposed to exist. Not like this, and this one was struck using a rare die combination. A transitional error where the reverse die wasn't updated properly, and the obverse die lacked the mint mark entirely. A true anomaly, and when it was finally authenticated, jaws dropped. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world, because when the penny was submitted to auction, everyone expected maybe a few $100. 1,000, max. Instead, the bids started rolling in $10,000, $50,000, then 6 figures. By the time the hammer fell, the final sale price had soared to a number no one could have predicted. Over $1.5 million. That's right, this ordinary-looking 1989 no mint mark penny sold for nearly $1.60 million. Because of one microscopic error, and the fact that almost none of these coins were meant to survive, collectors were stunned, dealers were desperate to get their hands on one. And every day, Americans started checking their change like never before. One man's pocket change had become a once-in-a-lifetime payday, all because he looked a little closer. But here's the craziest part. There might be more out there. You heard that right, the US Mint never officially acknowledged the error. And because the penny looks almost identical to the regular 1989 Philadelphia issue, most people would never know they had it. It starts with the mint mark. Or rather, the lack of one. Flip the coin to the obverse. That's Lincoln's face. Look just below the date. If there's no letter, no D, no P, you're one step closer, but that's just the beginning, because tons of 1989 Philadelphia pennies have no mint mark. That's normal. The real value is in the strike and the die variety that you're looking for, a sharply defined Lincoln bust. No doubling. Clean strike. The Lincoln Memorial should appear slightly off-center or misaligned. In some versions, the columns of the memorial show faint doubling or where that shouldn't exist on a coin this age, and here's the $1 million clue, a faint ghost line above the memorial left from a die clash. A mark so subtle, it's invisible to most naked eyes, only a few expert graders caught it, and when they did, they knew. This was the coin. The one they'd only heard about in whispers. Some 1989 no mint mark pennies also displays ink planchet anomalies, small blisters or bubbles under the copper layer, caused by the shift in penny composition during the 1980s. Another key sign you're holding something worth millions. That's exactly what one Ohio man believes he did. He used a jar of old coins to pay for fast food, pennies he'd been collecting since the 1980s, including a mint condition, no mint mark 1989. He remembered the shine, the odd back, the way Lincoln's face looked almost frosted. 2 weeks later, he saw the auction story, because that one coin could have changed his life forever, and that's the true mystery of this $1 million penny. It looks so ordinary, it sounds so common, it's one of the rarest pieces of American currency still hiding in circulation. Collectors call it the silent millionaire, because it whispers its value until someone listens close enough to hear it, and when they do, their life changes overnight. But here's where it gets even wilder. Some experts believe fewer than 15 authentic examples exist. That's at 0.15 coins out of billions, and only a handful have been graded in pristine condition, mint state 67 or higher. Those are the ones that bring in life-changing money, but even lower grades can fetch tens of thousands of dollars. So don't throw away those old jars. Don't overlook that pile of change by the coffee machine, because tucked in there might be a coin that could pay off your house, buy your dream car, fund your retirement. Or rewrite your family's future, all because you took a second look at a 1989 penny. Spot $1 million 1989 no mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny. Remember, no mint mark under the date. Flawless or near flawless obverse strike, with minor reverse misalignment. Possible die clash marks above the memorial. Look for surface bubbling or blistering from a zinc core under copper plating. If you suspect you've got something special, do not clean the coin. Do not polish it. That can destroy its value instantly. Instead, place it in a coin flip or soft cloth and contact a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC, just like it did for that anonymous collector in 2012, whose penny shocked the world. Coins like this don't just belong in museums, they hide in couch cushions, at yard sales, in piggy banks, even in the change you get back from a morning coffee, because this exact penny, the 1989 no mint mark Memorial Lincoln, could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. But then, someone spotted one tiny, almost invisible detail, and what happened next shocked every coin dealer in America, because this wasn't just any ordinary Lincoln penny. It was a 1982 no mint mark Memorial penny, and it sold for a jaw-dropping $1.80 million. Yes, you heard that right, 0.1 cent. One mistake, one miracle, and someone walked away a millionaire. But here's what's truly terrifying: there are more of these out there right now, right this second. This $1 million penny could be hiding in someone's sock drawer, sitting quietly in a cup holder, or lying face down in a pile of forgotten change. Collectors are scrambling, dealers are on high alert, because this particular 1982 penny shouldn't exist the way it does. And if you know what to look for, you could be the next person to hold one in your hand. But to understand why this single cent became so valuable, we have to go back to a year when the US Mint made a decision that would change coin collecting history. It was a year of transition. The cost of copper had skyrocketed. The US government needed a cheaper solution. So they made a bold move. They stopped making solid copper pennies and switched to a new, lighter composition, a copper-coated zinc planchet. But here's the twist: they didn't switch overnight. In 1982, the mint produced both copper and zinc pennies using multiple dies, different weights, and more than one design. It was chaos, quietly contained within a single year, and in that confusion, a mistake happened. 0.1 penny struck on the wrong metal. No mint mark. The weight wasn't what it should be, the look was deceptively ordinary, and yet, this simple mistake turned into a $1 million miracle. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A young collector, just starting out, found the coin purely by accident. He didn't know what he had at first. It looked like every other penny he'd handled, but something about the weight felt off. So he weighed 0.11 grams of copper, but it was supposed to be zinc and it had no mint mark, which meant it came from the Philadelphia Mint. That's when the floodgates opened. This wasn't just a transitional penny. It was a ghost. A coin that never should have been minted the way it was, and in 2017, that same coin went to auction, under glaring lights, and surrounded by skeptical experts. It sold for an astonishing $1.80 million. 0.1 penny, nearly $2 million, and suddenly, collectors across the country dropped what they were doing. Everyone wanted to find their own, because here's the chilling truth: there could be more, and most people wouldn't even recognize them if they saw one. You see, in 1982, there were 7 known varieties of the Lincoln Memorial penny: large date, small date, copper, zinc, with or without a mint mark. That's already a maze to navigate, but it gets trickier, because the no mint mark 1982 small date copper penny, that's the one collectors are after. It's the one that shouldn't exist, and it's worth up to $1.80 million. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it, but you won't, because I'm about to tell you exactly how to spot it. 1982 has both large and small date styles. To the untrained eye, they look identical, but look closely at the two. In the small date, the bottom of the 2 curves sharply and tucks under itself, the 8 appears slightly taller, and the entire date sits higher in relation to the rim of the coin. Then, there's the weight. Zinc pennies weigh about 2.5 grams. Copper pennies weigh 3.11 grams. So grab a precise digital scale. If your 1982 penny weighs 3.11 grams and has no mint mark, you may be holding something worth a fortune. But that's not all, because even within the correct weight and date style, the surface and luster of the coin can reveal even more. Collectors were shocked to discover that some of these pennies were struck using worn dies, giving them slightly mushy details in Lincoln's hair or the Lincoln Memorial steps, and yet, that didn't stop one of them from becoming a $1 million sensation. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. Here's where it gets even more dramatic. In 2021, a man from Pennsylvania was going through his late father's belongings. Tucked inside a dusty tobacco tin was a handful of old coins, among them a 1982 no-mint mark penny. He almost didn't weigh it, but something about the look of it pulled at him. When he placed it on a scale, 3.11 grams, copper, small date. No mint mark, and when he sent it for grading, the results came back authentic, rare, and potentially worth over $1.70 million. He broke down in tears. He said, "My dad never knew. He kept it because he thought it looked nice." And just like that, his inheritance became a treasure. This is why knowledge is everything, because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Collectors across the country are digging through jars, drawers, even vending machine change. They're offering thousands just to get first rights on coins like these before they hit public auction, but the clock is ticking. As more of these are discovered, the frenzy grows, and with every new find, prices could rise even higher. Start by checking every 1982 penny you own, separate them by mint mark, set aside all the no mint mark coins, then check the date style, look for the small date features, compare the curvature of the two, the height of the numbers, the spacing. Next, weigh it. Anything close to 3.11 grams could be copper, and if you've got a 1982 no mint mark, small date, copper penny, get it graded immediately, because you might just be holding a $1 million story. One that could change your life. Collectors dream of finds like this. A coin that defies logic. A mistake that became a masterpiece. A forgotten cent that now commands respect. And yes, $1 million. So don't ignore the pennies. Don't overlook the ordinary, because sometimes the smallest things hide the biggest secrets, and this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. It was just a 1968 penny, a common year, a Denver mint mark, nothing special at first glance, but one tiny, hidden flaw turned it into a life-changing discovery, and now, it's worth up to $1.9 million. That's right, one ordinary-looking Lincoln cent, pulled from pocket change, caused a frenzy across the coin world, because this isn't just any penny. It's a ticking time bomb of forgotten minting history, and it could be hiding in your home right now. But before we reveal the exact detail that makes this coin worth millions, you need to hear the story behind it, because what happened in 1968 changed everything. It was a year of chaos. America was at a crossroads: protests, war, political assassinations, but inside the US Mint, a different kind of upheaval was unfolding, one that would leave behind a trail of minting anomalies, and one shocking mistake. You see, after years of producing coins without mint marks during the coin shortage, the US Mint had just resumed using them again. 1968 marked the return of the D and S mint marks on Lincoln cents, but something went wrong. One batch of 1968 D Lincoln pennies left the Denver Mint with a hidden error so subtle, even experts missed it at first, and decades later, one man unknowingly dropped that coin into a Coinstar machine. He thought it was worthless, but a sharp-eyed collector standing nearby caught something strange as it clinked through the reject tray. What he saw made his heart stop. The mint mark looked off: the shape, the position, even the depth of the strike, and when he got it under a microscope, the truth hit him like lightning. This wasn't just a regular 1968 D penny. It had a rare double die obverse, but the kind so faint, so ghostly, most people would never spot it. But that wasn't all. There was a second anomaly. A misaligned mint mark, punched by hand, in the wrong place. In 1968, the Denver Mint still applied mint marks manually, meaning each one was struck by a worker using a hand punch, and if that worker slipped even slightly, the result could be $1 million error, and that's exactly what happened. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The collector sent the coin to multiple grading services: PCGS, NGC, Annex. Every expert confirmed it. This penny was one of a kind. A double die obverse, combined with a mispunched mint mark, both verified and original to the minting process. Mint State 66 or ED.IT sold at auction for just under $1.9 million. Collectors were stunned, dealers rushed to check their own inventories, and suddenly, the 1968 D Lincoln penny was no longer ordinary. It became a symbol of hidden fortune. But here's what most people don't know: there may be more of them, because the Denver Mint didn't just make one coin that day. It struck millions, and if even a handful of those coins carry the same subtle errors, then right now, someone's pocket change could be worth a fortune. Here's the part that separates wishful thinking from real treasure hunting: it must say 1968. With a clear D mint mark below the date. Now, look very closely at Lincoln's face. Focus on the word liberty on the left side. Do you see any doubling? Even the slightest ghosting or doubling of the letters? What about his eye? His jawline? Any minor distortion could be the sign of a double die obverse. Then, and this is critical, examine the mint mark itself. Some errors are so faint, only visible under magnification, but others? They can be spotted with the naked eye, if you know what to look for, because the next detail is where things get emotional. A retired postal worker from Nebraska found a 1968 D penny in a childhood piggy bank. He almost gave it to his grandson, but something about the mint mark looked odd. He had it appraised, and within months, that penny changed his life. $900,000 at auction, and still rising. Another man found one stuck between floorboards while renovating his kitchen. Dusty, tarnished. It was revealed to be an ultra-rare variety and went for over $1 million, and that's not even the highest known sale, because rumors persist that a pristine, uncirculated 1968 D double die with a misaligned mint mark sold privately to a Texas collector for $1.9 million, setting a record for Memorial Lincoln cents. But wait, this next part is crucial. Many people mistake regular 1968 D pennies for the valuable ones because they focus only on color or shine, not the hidden details. Tons of shiny, red-brown 1968 D pennies exist, but without the double die or the mint mark error, they're worth only a cent. The doubling on the obverse, especially Liberty and Lincoln's profile, the mint mark's placement, is it crooked, shadowed, or looks like it was struck twice? The overall condition, the best finds are uncirculated or lightly circulated. Don't clean it. Don't touch it with bare hands. Place it in a coin flip or plastic holder and get it professionally graded, because one careless wipe could erase $1 million discovery. And remember, this isn't just about money. It's about history. It's about the thrill of uncovering a forgotten secret from America's past, a piece of metal that slipped through the cracks of a trillion coin machine and emerged as a legend. And now, that legend might be waiting for you. So the next time you empty your pockets or dig through an old jar, look twice, because the 1968 D Lincoln penny that looks ordinary might just be the miracle you've been waiting for. This penny was almost tossed into a Coinstar machine. A routine grocery run. Pocket change. Nothing special until one man took a second glance, and what he found turned the entire coin world upside down. This ordinary looking 1987 Lincoln penny, with no mint mark, ended up selling for nearly $1 million, but behind this coin is a story of government oversight, rare minting errors, and a collector's once-in-a-lifetime stroke of luck. A penny most people would walk past is now considered one of the most elusive treasures in modern American coinage, and here's the twist: this coin is still out there right now. It could be sitting in your home, in your desk drawer, or jingling at the bottom of your car's cup holder. But before we reveal what makes this penny worth a fortune, let's rewind, because to understand its shocking value, you have to uncover its hidden past. It was 1987. The year Ronald Reagan gave his famous Berlin Wall speech. The stock market crashed, and quietly, at the US Mint, a mechanical error was about to change coin history. You see, most 1987 pennies bear a mint mark, typically a D4 Denver or an S4 San Francisco. If proof they left the mint with no mark at all. At first, no one noticed. After all, a missing mint mark wasn't unheard of, but this time, it wasn't just a fading stamp. It was something much deeper. Some believe a batch of Denver pennies was accidentally struck with Philadelphia dies that, by default, don't carry a mint mark unless manually added. Others whisper that it was sabotage, a rogue mint worker trying to leave behind a legacy coin. Whatever the truth, the result was shocking: a 1987 no mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny, with a very specific anomaly that only a few collectors have ever seen. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Because when one of these elusive no mint mark pennies surfaced at a small estate sale in Ohio, it wasn't in a display case. It wasn't even in a protective sleeve. It was taped to the bottom of an old piggy bank. A retired machinist named Gerald Knox. He didn't think much of it. Just liked how the penny looked, but something told him, keep it. Hold on to it. He took it to a local dealer, and that's when everything changed. The dealer's face went pale. He called in 2 more experts. Then 3. Within 48 hours, that one penny was on its way to a national grading service. MS67 red, verified 1987 no mint mark, with a rare die alignment that had only been rumored until then. When it finally hit auction, collectors were stunned. Bidding wars broke out, and that tiny copper coin sold for just under $1 million. $1 million. For a penny you could easily mistake for pocket change. But here's the part that will send chills down your spine: that wasn't the only one. Because, according to insiders, up to 2 dozen similar coins may have been released, undetected, and only a handful have ever been confirmed. It's not just the missing mint mark. It's the combination of features: the exact die pairing, the microscopic doubling visible on Lincoln's eye, the slightly off-center strike, and the ultra-rare red luster, which indicates it was preserved in near-perfect condition from the moment it was struck. Most people miss these signs. They think a missing mint mark is the whole story, but that's just the beginning. Collectors were shocked to learn that even experts had walked past this coin. Dealers who handled thousands of pennies daily never noticed the difference, because the US Mint didn't officially announce the error. It was buried quietly, forgotten, until one man's curiosity uncovered it all. Dealers across the country have been rushing to recheck their stock. Treasure hunters have flooded eBay, estate sales, flea markets, hoping to find the next miracle cent. But the key is knowing what to look for, because while thousands of 1987 pennies exist, only a select few match this unique pattern. Check the mint mark. Or rather, the absence of one. Look just below the date. If there's no D or S, you've got something worth investigating. But don't stop there. Flip the coin under a bright light. Examine Lincoln's eye. Is there a subtle doubling? Next, observe the strike. Is the image ever so slightly off center? Now look at the coin's color. Is it bright, coppery red, as if untouched by time? That's called red grade, and it dramatically increases value. Use a jeweler's loupe or send it to a third party. Greater, because if your coin hits MS65 or higher, you could be looking at tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. And remember, Gerald Knox didn't find his at an auction. He didn't buy it from a dealer. He found it taped inside a child's piggy bank, which means the next one could be anywhere. In your attic, behind your dresser. And that old jar labeled vacation change. And every day, more people are realizing they've walked past small fortunes. One viewer emailed us saying he sold a 1987 no mint mark penny for just 10 cents at a garage sale, only to discover the buyer flipped it for over $80,000. So the question is, how many more of these $1 million miracles every time you check your spare change, every time you see a Lincoln cent? Because coins like these don't just represent metal, they carry stories, mistakes, secrets the government never intended to release, and sometimes, they carry enough value to change a life. So don't wait, start looking, because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.